Hey there. It's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
Some people do stupid things. Don't do stupid things. You are about to hear my opinion. Do your own research.
Good, how are you? Could I please get a ice americano?
Under the surface, these guys are operating the biggest unregulated bank in the world thanks to their rewards program. We fire up the app and of course we want to update our balance here. So we select the top up amount. I can't just put in the exact amount that I want to buy the coffee or the beverage that I want. No, it's 20, 40, 50 or $100.
Notice how an average drink costs somewhere around $5, but the minimum option that they let you load into this app is 20 bucks. In this case, that means that they are increasing their average order value by 300%.
Just like gift cards, a lot of these things go unused and then they sit there and it's free money. By the end of 2022, $1.7 billion was just sitting in these accounts. That is money that Starbucks gets to hold on to and do whatever it is that they like.
That is absolutely brilliant. Because how many people are like, I want Starbucks, and it's super easy to just tap to pay with your phone. And then after a while, you're like, I don't really care for Starbucks anymore. But there's that $6 just sitting there, and you're not going to use it. And then you get rid of the app, and then they have your money. Wow. Okay. That's evil, but absolutely brilliant.
I'm sure you've heard by now about the two Minnesota lawmakers who were shot by an individual who was posing as a law enforcement officer earlier this morning, and our thoughts and prayers with the family. But what you probably didn't know is this. Just a couple days ago, Melissa Hortman, the individual who's lost her life, actually voted no to provide illegal immigrants with health care. Minnesota Senator John Hoffman actually also chose to cross party lines and move to pass this legislation. And what's wild is you can actually see video of Melissa appearing to look distressed in the aftermath of choosing to break with her own party. Now, here's where things get interesting. Also, the Minnesota State Patrol just came out and said that the suspect left his vehicle at the scene of the crime and fled the scene. But inside his vehicle, they actually found No Kings protest paraphernalia, flyers, if you will. So essentially what they're telling people to do in the Minnesota area is to not attend any No Kings protests. Now, of course, if you're going to go to a protest out there, that's your prerogative. But it's important for you to remain vigilant and remain smart. This does have hallmarks that remind me very much of Luigi Mangione. Of course, individuals are already coming out and saying this is a politically motivated attack, and it very well may be, but not for the reasons people might think initially. So do your own due diligence, find the facts. This is the breaking information. I might have an update for you later, but as of right now, these are the facts as they stand, and I'm curious what your thoughts might be.
Well, this certainly was an interesting event over the weekend, and they just caught the guy this morning. And people were coming out immediately after it happened going, oh, it's politically motivated because they voted against, immigrants having health care in Minnesota. But the guy that did the pew-pewing was Democrat. And these lawmakers were Democrat as well. Well, one of them are still, but the other one was because one of them passed away along with her husband, which is absolutely horrible. And the other two are expected to survive, the gentleman and his wife. But they caught the guy this morning, and dude was a Democrat, appointed by Tim Walz. And Tim Walz was the first to come out and say this was politically motivated, but it was one of his own dudes. So that's crazy. And I still do want to know what you think. And while you're down there in the comment section, do me a favor, hit that like button and consider subscribing.
A red bioship was discovered. Yeah, you heard that right. So Emery Smith, who worked for the Sandia Labs Corporation down in New Mexico, worked on this ship and worked on Red Alien. Let's tell you the story. So Emery Smith has worked on over 3,000 different samples of aliens. He stated he worked on a red alien specifically. This red alien had white eyes and crosses through them. He stated that when he took a sample of this red alien, he was also instructed to go to another section of the base, to go take a subsection of a ship, a bioship, a ship that looked like it was made out of jello. He had to go up inside of this hovering ship that was over about 10 feet tall, hovering over the floor, and go into the hole. When he went into the hole of the ship, he found that there was bumps, like little pockets everywhere, and he had to take a slice out. When he took a slice out, he brought it back. They did DNA examination on this thing. When they did, they found out that the ship's DNA, the ship's composition matched the alien. Exactly. So, they determined that the alien species is using their DNA to create a ship. How is that possible?
Hold the phone. We've got red aliens now? This is the first time hearing about these red aliens. That's absolutely incredible. That's exciting, a new thing to learn about. Red aliens that like have the same DNA as their ships. And you know how it's possible? Of course you don't know how it's possible, because we don't do crap like that here, but they probably do crap like that on other planets where they have that kind of technology. There has to be the biological interface, right? That we talked about in the David Dare story when he went and saw that bluish green, like blobby machine, right? Down in the bunker under Area 51. Kind of samey, except, you know, the alien was red. Maybe it is samey, because it did kind of sound the same. Samey. But it's biological. We don't have that technology, but they possibly do. So that's absolutely wild. I love it. What in the absolute adrenaline junkie hell is that, you might be asking? I was asking the same thing because that looks absolutely insane. So I found some information about some stuff that we used to do as a thing. Check this out.
Ever heard of Operation Skyhook?
Fly me to the moon. Let me play up.
Now, obviously, they were not going to the moon. But the Skyhook operation was a method used by the CIA and the Air Force. And it was used to rescue soldiers and special forces in remote areas where it was unsafe to land an aircraft. It was also known as the Fulton Surface-to-Air Recovery System, or STARS. Step 1. Deploy a helium balloon to lift a line into the air. Step 2. Strap a person or cargo to a harness. Step 3. Snag the line with a low-flying plane. Step 4. Reel the person or the cargo into the plane using a winch. That's what you saw in the video at the beginning. The Skyhook system was developed in the 50s and it was used successfully. One of the more famous examples of Skyhook was Project Cold Feet.
So they started out doing this stuff with like cargo, where these planes would come by with these hooks and grab on to ropes and pull cargo up into the planes from the ground. And then they started doing it with people, because why not? They needed to get folks out of this place. And it's crazy. They would drop you this thing, this like kit, and it had in it like the helium, and you pump up the balloon and send her up and just kind of sit there and wait to get launched into the air. But this Project Cold Feet, so apparently there was this Soviet base on an ice floe. It's on a floating chunk of ice, and they were doing research on how to locate submarines, I guess, under the ice. And then they abandoned it because another ice floe like crammed into it and destroyed it and stuff. But these people, they dropped, what was it, 2 fellas onto this ice floe and took a bunch of their stuff with them and got a bunch of the Soviet research, which is absolutely fantastic that they were able to do that. But getting yanked up, no thanks. That's crazy. We did some crazy things, didn't we?
So let's give it up for this flag and this administration for a job well done today. Today they arrested over 240 traffickers. That's right, over 200 of them. Today they also saved the lives of over 100 innocent children. Think about that. You aren't seeing this on your local news, are you? With all that stuff that's going on in LA, this is the stuff that should be on your news. This is the stuff that the liberal media doesn't want to talk about when they want to focus on all that LA stuff. At the end of the day, this is the type of thing that we all need to be focused on. 240 traffickers and saving over 100 children today, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's get that word out there. Let's get that liberal media to focus on that type of stuff.
It'd be nice if that was the focus of the mainstream media. I didn't hear about that from mainstream. You gotta go digging for this information, and that's the kind of stuff that's going on. And it's fantastic. And it needs to continue because we don't need those people in our country. That's disgusting.
Chris Bledsoe said that the ET told him that World War III would begin after Iran and Israel start exchanging weapons. He said this a long time ago, and he wrote it in his book, UFOs of God. And it's a prediction he made on a podcast.
World War III, full blown with Iran and Israel.
Did they tell you when it was going to happen?
They told me when you see Israel and Iran beginning to exchange weapons, I can see them plainly leaving Israel, going into Iran.
And that's what's happening now. Iran and Israel are. I don't know what you guys think of Chris Bledsoe, but he's like, these UFOs, they come to me and they're so beautiful and they're together. He's almost like a mix of Bill Clinton and Forrest Gump, I feel like. I did not play ping pong with that woman. Forrest Gump didn't even see any UFOs, so I kind of think Forrest Gump might be bullshit.
Well, that certainly took an interesting turn that I wasn't expecting, because I only watched the first few seconds of it, and I'm like, hey, that's happening right now. Perhaps this is what's happening, but I think is great, and just Netanyahu's like, hey, you want to do something? And Trump's like, no, no, this is you. Go for it.
Wow, guys, check this out. CNN changed the color of Trump's face to orange. Look at Fox right there. His face is normal, but CNN loves to manipulate everything. They have to make it seem like he's the orange bad man, so they turned his face friggin' orange. Just like they did with Joe Rogan here. On the bottom, that's the original video. On top, CNN manipulated the video to make it look like he was really ill and sick, but he really wasn't. He was fine.
That's crazy. Back in the first Trump administration, I watched CNN because I was messed up inside of my brain and I didn't quite understand politics none too much. And he was very orange. And now I don't watch CNN so much and I realize, oh, he's not as orange as I thought he was. And that's why. And I totally remember Rogan looking all green and just gross. And no. Media manipulation at its finest.
One thing I need for you guys to understand about your masters, you know, the people that taught you everything you think you know about everything you think you know, if this was real, they wouldn't even show it to you. You don't get to see what goes on at the White House. You don't get to see what goes on at Area 51. You don't get to see what goes on at the Pentagon. You don't even get to see what goes on beneath the Sistine Chapel. Why do you get to see this? Because they want you to believe in this. That's why.
All right. Well, let's suppose that space is not real and this is all just a show. Perhaps it's to show global domination to the rest of the countries. Be like, hey, look what we're doing. We're doing this stuff. Let's see you do it. And if we're faking it, then they're faking it. Why is everybody faking it? I really don't know. I can't put that part of my brain into function because I'm totally all about we're in space. We did that stuff. And maybe it just worked on me. But what would the point of that be? Just to assert our global dominance? But everybody's doing it. Yeah, I don't know. Nope, wait, I figured it out. It's the money. Because we're funneling all this money into these programs. And it's going to other places, not actually into space. But of course, I don't believe that because I believe that we're in space, but I do believe that we put a lot more money into that than we're actually using on it. So there's that.
You know, I live in LA, so I decided to go downtown today and talk to people and find out what's really going on, what's their side of the story, to only get attacked and realize that they're all full of shit. Okay? Can't believe any of them. They're all full of shit.
Guys, seeing is no longer believing. Is this a pile of bricks in LA sent there by George Soros? Or was it just some picture from some warehouse in Malaysia? This is going to be a tough pill to swallow, but both sides are fueling the chaos. Democrats, I think, are doing it for money, and Republicans want to create a mass surveillance state. Those interests are converging. Today, there was a resolution in Congress to, quote, express gratitude to ICE And guess what? 75 Democrats voted for it. Not 2 days ago, Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell was tweeting out messages like this, quote, Trump continues to detain/deport innocent American citizens, even a child battling cancer. Until this stops, stay loud. And guess what? Today, he voted for that resolution praising ICE. It's all just theater. Quote, information warfare is always a symptom of conflict, stoked by those in power to fuel their own illiberal goals. It confuses audiences, scares people who might otherwise have empathy for the cause, and divides us when we need solidarity most. It's classic divide and conquer. Don't let them do it.
Oh, absolutely. There is a lot of manipulation happening on both sides, especially with the whole riots and the protests and all of that fun stuff. Everybody's picking and choosing what facts they want to show you in order to advance their own agendas. And then there's stuff going on behind the curtains, because there are always two sides to the story, and then there's the truth. So do your research, look a little deeper, dig some more, and you might uncover something that you may not like.
Thanks, Bernard. Now, finally for now, a mysterious hole on a beach has caused a stir in North Dublin. A local astronomy enthusiast is hoping the crater in Portmarnock could be the aftermath of a cosmic event.
It's a huge, mysterious crater that looks out of this world. But is it? The unusual hole on Portmarnock Beach stopped local astrophysics enthusiast Dave Kennedy in his tracks yesterday, and he's certain the small but heavy rock inside it came from up above.
As you can tell by here, there's a scorch mark on this side here, so that would have been at the angle that it came down at. And it is weighty. I'm not sure if it's composition, but we're definitely going to have to find out.
The striking hole soon caught the attention of passers-by, many hoping that what they're witnessing is the aftermath of a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event.
That's great. That's good stuff.
When corporations fund protests, you have to really wonder what the heck is going on. The No Kings protest that's happening all over America on June 14th, funded by Walmart. Right there, paid for by Christy Walton. Christy Walton is the billionaire heiress of Walmart, worth almost $20 billion. What do you think her end game here is? Like, is she really worried about authoritarianism or human rights abuses? Or is she just after cheap labor? Okay, over 70% of SNAP recipients and Medicaid users were full-time workers, and many of them are from Walmart. The irony is certainly not lost on me that the biggest organized protest against a so-called king is being organized by an oligarch. I mean, I don't think it's by accident that the bottom 50% of China holds twice as much wealth as the bottom 50% of America. Okay, China is the blue line, America is the red line. This should wake a lot of people up. Like, think about it. Why is China, where we get all our cheap goods from, why are they able to pay their workers, but not us? It's almost like they're trying to distract us from everything other than paying people a living wage.
Well, what do you know? I had no idea that the Walmart CEO was behind all of this No King protest stuff. And I gotta say, it definitely worked. Because here it is, Monday, after the No King protests, and we don't have a king, so good for them.
This just got way darker, and you're going to want to hear this news. Billionaire hedge fund legend Paul Tudor Jones just went public saying AI isn't some far-off threat. It's an imminent danger in our lifetimes, not in 50 years, but right now. He sat in a room with some of the top tech leaders on Earth, and when they were asked, what are you doing about AI security? They all admitted nothing. Why? Because the competition's too fierce. Russia, China, the US, everyone's locked in an AI arms race that no one's willing to slow down. Here's where it turns straight up chilling. Paul says he's buying 100 acres in the Midwest, stocking up on cattle, chickens, provisions, because he's prepping for a collapse-level event. And get this, he even said it might take an accident that kills 50 to 100 million people before the world wakes up to how dangerous AI really is. And the craziest part? No one on that tech panel pushed back. People building this tech aren't planning your escape, they're planning their own.
So there was an interesting conversation that I had with my husband and my brother-in-law yesterday, and they were talking about like nuclear fallout type stuff. Like there's this map, there's this nuclear protection map, and it shows, you know, areas that would be basically devastated by nuclear issues or fallout or what have you. And apparently in the Midwest and stuff is where we have all of our silos. And if AI took over, what do you think they're gonna do? Try to destroy the people with all of the nuclear stuff that we have. And apparently the Midwest, it's not very safe. So yeah, you can go out there and buy your 100 acres, but if AI takes over and they like launch a nuclear strike against us, then the Midwest is bad. Apparently, the West Coast is the most safe because we have like the breeze that goes to the east. I can do directions. It goes to the east and it would keep most of the fallout in the Midwest. And like I said, all the silos and bases and stuff out there that we have, that we know of, are out in that area. So the East Coast is, and the Midwest is gonna go shortly thereafter, but the West Coast apparently is the safest. And it's also the worst place to be in general. It's the hardest place to live. It's a disaster. But yeah, so AI, I don't think those very smart people are doing very smart things if they're buying up property in the Midwest. They need to do a little more research in that area.
We have got another brand new Mandela effect, and there's nothing that I can do to prepare you for this. I'm just going to assume that everybody watching this has seen the movie Gremlins. But this has nothing to do with the fact that nobody knows that Howie Mandel was the voice of Gizmo. Do you remember this guy? This guy? What was his name? Personally, I remember him as Spike. So I typed Gremlin Spike into Google, and it corrected me and said his name was Stripe. So in the history of Gremlins, this movie right here, this guy right here, was never Spike. But I can guarantee you over 50% of people commenting on this video will say it was Spike, not Stripe. And if you've recently seen Gremlins, who is he in the movie? Because as a collective, this is the only way we're going to find out what the right answer is.
Holy cow. Okay, it's been since forever since I have seen Gremlins, but now I'm gonna have to go back and watch it because I remember his name being Spike. Apparently it's not.
When I tell you guys it took me nearly 2 hours to even be able to guess what this is, I'm not joking. I had my work cut out for me on this one. This is a really weird TikTok that I got tagged in. It went really viral and there's no context. These guys can be seen cutting into this jiggly mass and then yelling after it's been cut open. And even with the insides visible, it's still hard to tell what we're looking at here. Well, after doing a copious amount of research, I think that I've finally discovered what this is, pretty much just a giant block of rubber. Specifically though, I believe it's latex from a tree that's oftentimes referred to as the rubber tree. They collect the sap, and for ease of transporting, I believe they make these blocks or bales of rubber. This is what they look like when they're being transported. And in this video, I'm pretty sure these guys aren't happy because there's a bunch of empty space here in the middle, but again, the translation on TikTok's rough, so that's just a guess. In any event, I'm pretty confident with this guess, but let me know what you guys think this is in the comment section below.
Yet another one of those clips where I just watch the first few seconds and I read the little subtitling and I'm like, what the heck is it? Oh, that's freaking cool looking. And then it's nothing. It's just a gross looking blob of rubber. So yeah, that sucks. Sorry it was as disappointing as it was because I'm very disappointed as well. So welcome to Disappointment Alley. Population us. On that note, I'm gonna call it for today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. If you haven't already, please hit that like button and consider subscribing, and then come on back, because we're gonna watch some new stuff. I'll say different things. It's gonna be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.